All right, gonna go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shows up. Alrighty. That's the most Canadian thing I've ever said. Alrighty. How's it going? Got a New Year's stream today. New Year's Eve day. Except we're I was just gonna say it's a little disappointing. It's too bad we're not able to do this later on in the evening.
Oh.
New Year's Eve would be a little more jovial than 10 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, you gotta. It's 5 p.m. somewhere, right? So
right.
That's true.
Is that Irish coffee you're drinking there, Tyler?
I am actually. Old Buffalo Trace bourbon cream with my coffee.
Right on. I should have done that, and I did not. What's up, everyone in the chat? I see Metal571 is there. He says Glenfiddich and an LCD2. What is this? My stream? Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, we figured we would do just sort of like a New Year's casual hangout Q&A session. We got, of course, Tyler, and then we have Theo. Chrono couldn't join us, or Precog. Chrono couldn't join us because he he's away, and I think he had some family stuff come up. So I think they switched it from New Year's Eve dinner to New Year's lunch. So he's busy. But yeah, exactly. It's 7 p.m. over there in Europe. Says Gordon Freeman.
So it's actually good timing for you guys.
Yeah. And actually, I think East Coast. It's the afternoon, so people are getting ready. I say East Coast. People out east.
Yeah.
It's funny for us in Canada. It's like East Coast is Toronto, even though that's not really
East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I do have a bunch of topics for us to go through, and I figure we could do, just sort of a basic, overview of stuff from 2020, sort of like a 2020 headphone retrospective.
Yeah.
I see a comment in the chat here. What do you think of the Harmonic Dyne Zeus? I have a video coming out on that this week, so stay tuned for that. What is that? Oh, you got one as well?
Yep, I haven't listened to it yet though. I was gonna do probably a live impression of it with my HD800 probably next week sometime. So I'll let you know.
Wicked, yeah. My the case is nice, but I think mine showed up with the case like damaged. It got damaged in shipping. It's like one corner of it is like super warped. But the headphone's fine.
This is that Tri-Fi headphone, right?
Yeah, the
okay.
The beryllium. It's I'm so confident that it's beryllium coated and not fully beryllium because. Well, I was even looking at the driver, and it's the corrugated style, not like what Focal does with the sort of hybrid style, separate surround.
It's light.
It's super comfy, and the pads are crazy nice. But
the pads remind me of the Abyss pads to some degree. Not like a lot, but a little bit. Like how they have that weird, like flared out, like
yeah,
light, very light.
Yeah, but I really like the Zeus after EQ.
EQ, that's always the keyword.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll have a video review out probably tomorrow, actually, most likely. Okay, so I have some topics for us to go through. I figure we could just start with the obvious, and that 2020 really sucked for so many different reasons. There's a pretty fun Netflix show about how 2020 is terrible, but for the headphone world, we had all those events planned, like can jams and whatnot, and we were going to go to a number of different places, and unfortunately we weren't able to do that because pretty much right after Can Jam New York, everything just started shutting down. And even when we went to New York, I say we, it was Taryn and Andrew and myself. Even when we went there was this sort of sense of nervousness. And, when we were going through the airport and they were bringing people back on those, to Canada, at least on those cruise ships and stuff like that. So there was a lot of, I guess, stress about that. And then we just weren't able to have events. We wanted to host events, or we've done events in Seattle with Android and Tyler and bunch of other people from that community. So it was a real shame not to be able to do that stuff that we had planned and that we'd wanted to do. But at the same time, we did get to have some pretty awesome experiences for the ones that we did get to go to. Yes, in particular, CanJam New York was fantastic. But I wanted to ask both of you guys, what was your, let's just say, best headphone experience of 2020? So you can't, Tyler, you can't say ZMF because you heard that before. So just, of new stuff, right? Like your new experiences. And what was like, not necessarily like your experience with it, but when you first heard it and you were like, wow, what was that situation? What was that environment?
For me, I'd probably nail it, condense it down to the top two for me experiences. Right off the top, just goes more recent, was the Odin IEM.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really fantastic listen. And I only got to listen to it for a little bit. It's now with Android for review over on Audio Discourse. And then besides that, I would say of all things, Vocal Radiance was one of my top fun listens this year. And like just kind of like the overall experience of that headphone is a really pretty headphone.
Yep.
Has nice warmth to it. Interesting. Looking forward to see what they do with that in the future. Like, because I know it was limited release, so kind of excited to see what the next step is for Vocal in that range.
Cool. And Precog.
Oh yeah, my biggest experience was definitely hearing the U12T. It was like it literally took place in a parking lot. Like the guy just handed it to me from his car because like
is this
social
like
distancing and all.
Is this like the way Android meets Tyler in the back alley with the trench coat?
Yeah, it sounds like that. But yeah, like the moment I slapped them on, I listened to like 2 minutes. I was sold, man. Like I knew I had to have one eventually.
So just that happened this year for you?
Yeah, happened
wow.
this year.
Cool.
Yeah, I haven't been in this hobby that long, honestly.
Right. Well,
but yeah, that was just a big eye opener for me. Yeah. Like what's possible.
Yeah, I mean that's always for me as well. Is like when I hear a crazy high end IEM like the Odin or the U12T, it changes my mind again about what's possible with IEMs, right? Because I always think, oh yeah, there's a limit to like, all that stuff. Because with all the really good stuff that's come out this year, it's like, oh yeah, this is pretty good, but it's still not as nice as like over your headphones.
It's like that hit you can't just get back again. Like, it happens like one time, unfortunately.
It's the chase of the dragon right there, man.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, with that said, I mean we've caught some dragons this year too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I guess for me the probably the coolest experience this year would have been listening to and I'm gonna steal Tyler's thunder here, but listening to the Verite on the Pendant. That was a really cool experience. Obviously, like my take on that stuff is that while it's not as detailed as like some crazy hi-fi man's Sisvara or even like a Utopia, that kind of stuff, it's such a unique experience with pairing the Verite with the Pendant, that sort of tube sound and getting, I guess, kind of immersed in the tube sound coming from the solid state background, right? Just being more into what solid state stuff's doing, and then moving over to high impedance dynamic with a nice tube amp. That was probably my craziest experience. That was actually the Pendant that you brought up, because you did get to go to before all the craziness went down.
Yeah, it was before you guys went to New York for the New York CanJam.
Yeah, was it before that? Okay, yeah,
because I had it before the Verite Close released. I had it with the Verite Close.
Wait, so was
demo run.
Was that in 2019? Am I misremembering? Maybe it was in 2019.
It was 2019 leading into 2020. You got it. Yeah, so you got it right leading into 2020.
That's right, because I brought it with me to CanJam, and I remember it was kind of funny because I took it with me on the plane, and
it's this giant.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think Taryn brought something about as large. I think he brought a DAC amp, but that was about as large, and he just put it in his carry-on.
Rupert Neve.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah. It's pretty big, right? He just put it in
massive.
He just put it in a bag and took it with him on the plane. And meanwhile, I had the tube amp there, or the Pendant, and I put it in the luggage. and I got flagged and by the TSA, and I wasn't even allowed in, and they put me in a separate room there. I wasn't allowed to use my phone. They took my phone away, and they're like, "You sit there."
Oh, rip.
Yeah. Like, what is this thing? And so I had to go through the website. Like, no, like this is. I'm bringing it back. It's not even mine. So, yeah, they weren't too thrilled with me. They basically said, "Don't ever do this again."
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I mean, you think about it, there's a bunch of tubes and like wires.
Why didn't Taryn get flagged? Because
Drupal Neve, it looks more like, because like a DAC looks more like a computer.
But it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, Drupal Neve is pretty big. Yeah. But it does look more like a computer, though. And whereas with the you throw in the tube factor, and that's where it starts to go like, wait a minute,
yeah.
like.
Plus, like the way that the tubes are all like arranged, they're all kind of like that's got to be something, right? But yeah, I guess people run into that with like DApps and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, really? Even just DApps?
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to get flagged all the time because I always have my Nintendo Switch and all my audio gear. Like I have a bunch of DApps and all that stuff. And people always, then my iPad and, in my camera gear. And then I always get tagged and like, what's in here? And you're like, it's just, because I have also all my wires for all my charging. So it's just like, not fun.
I guess if I had to do like a runner up for my favorite headphone experience, it would probably be that hanging out with Dr. Fang Bian and in the special room there at Can Jam and listening to like the Shangri-La Senior and Junior. That was really cool. But of course it's like such a small amount of time, not really, it's not really a fair, way to evaluate something. But yeah, I mean, the Can Jam in general was pretty awesome. And that's why, like, for 2021, I really hope that we're able to do that again. But we'll see. Yeah.
Gordon has a good. I mean, we'll probably lead into this a bit, Gordon. But actually, there's a couple questions randomly.
Yeah.
I know. So, just for people's awareness, I don't think you have too many speaker setups, right? Resolve, Andrew.
No, I
apartment life.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into it though because I want to. Well, I definitely need to put some new speakers in my car. That's the first thing that needs to happen because it's so bad. And actually, I'm in the process of fixing my car. It just randomly started to die. So, yeah.
Oof, fun.
Not fun and expensive.
Yeah, very expensive. Always, cars are expensive.
Yeah. It's
and then precogs mostly IEMs, but he did just recently have the HD800s.
Yep.
Do you do speakers at all? I'm assuming
not at all.
Okay.
No, I'm at home, so it's with my parents and all.
So I started with speakers initially, but then I had a kid, and then I'm game, so that's what went into the headphone world. And I'm starting to move back into speakers a little bit, just kind of testing the waters, and I'm looking at doing that. So someone asked, the reason I bring that up is because someone asked headphones or speakers, and even with like cheap speakers that are set up properly, I think can destroy a lot of headphones. Not destroy, that's not probably the good way to say it, but like it's just a different experience. And actually that's another factor, is like I don't really think you can compare a headphone to a speaker to some level, especially after listening to it more. Mm-hmm. In the sense that they are presenting things in different ways. In the sense that, it's closed back, it's coupled to your head, that kind of thing. I would really approach speakers to headphones in different aspects. This is more for the live chat. In that I think that you need to approach them as individual, unique experiences and not try to compare the two.
So this is one of the really interesting things that I was actually going to bring it up later on, but as far as like the learning process has gone for me, for diving into all the research, the Harmon research that was done, the AES papers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And what you said about the headphone experience and speaker experiences being categorically different is super important for that as well, because in many ways what they're trying to do is they're trying to I guess emulate or simulate a speaker like experience as far as like the various different tunings and frequency response targets is concerned before the preference stuff comes into play. But I mean, the fact that they're different experiences, in my mind, at least it's interesting to me. I do think it has something to do with, or it does explain in some ways, why people wanted or had the preferences that they did. So they were trying to, replicate a speaker-like experience in headphones, which is never going to be a perfect match, even if you get the frequency response to be pretty close. So I do think that distinction is a very interesting one, and it's worth investigating more of, because for example, that you don't get the physical feeling in your chest when you listen to headphones the way you do with like a really nice speaker setup. You don't get that. And I think in many ways, like the people who are, they crank up the sub bass, one of the reasons for that is to compensate for the lack of feeling that, physicality there. But that's a discussion for another time. I just think it's an interesting distinction to make, because as you're saying, there are totally different experiences.
Yeah, and I think they need to be approached that way as well. Like,
and the communal aspect too of speakers, right? With other people.
You can sit and enjoy. You can discuss. You can dance. You can dance with headphones on. That'd be kind of weird.
You can lean further back.
Yeah. Yeah. Fully, I agree. The other piece that someone asked was more like a fun one, and I think we all. Here's the thing: it's work from home, COVID, right?
Yes.
Who do we think has the most ear time with IEMs or headphones amongst us three? That's something we can't really I know I have probably through 20,000 plus hours easily.
I wish there was a way to track that, where you could just
right. Because I would have to say, I listen to my headphones pretty much all day if I'm editing, especially. But I would probably think Resolve would probably have the most ear time of all of us.
Probably.
Yeah, because I'm constantly. That's literally all I'm doing. Like all day. Like
it's like your full-time job, basically.
Well, yeah, and also what I do for fun. So.
Yeah.
What is life? It's.
Yeah. What is life? Headphones. That's what the answer is. Headphones.
Yeah. But honestly, even just like the music discovery experience, right? Like, so for me, I'll pull back the curtain a little bit here. But when I'm doing my evaluations of stuff and comparisons, it is always with like the same test tracks, because I need the reference point there, right, to know what it's supposed to sound like. But then when that's done, I don't just stop looking for new music, right? Like that's when the fun starts.
I'm always on the prowl for new music, man. I'm constantly on the prowl.
Exactly. So, but I saw another. What was that sort of question?
There's a couple good questions. Yeah.
What's up? Andrew's in the chat. Happy New Year.
Andrew and Taryn. Hey, what's up? The brothers listen more.
Yeah. Here we go. Any thoughts on what new headphones Vocals EMF and Odyssey and other high-end brands will give us in 2021? I don't know anything about specifics, but I know that there's very good reasons to be excited for headphones in 2021. But that's all I know. I don't have any time frames or models that I'm aware of specifically that are coming out. That there is exciting stuff from that I do know, because I have it in hand. It's the new dynamic driver IEM from Dunu, the Zen. I guess technically it's not released yet, but soon, like in a few weeks, I guess. I'm not totally sure what the time frame is on that either, but at the very least, I have it in hand so I can talk about it, and so I know that exists. But for other major companies, I think we can expect some big releases in 2021, because in 2020, I think a lot of stuff would have been released in 2020 if it weren't for the pandemic and the interruptions as far as supply chains goes and that kind of stuff, that I think pushed a lot of those releases. But actually, I wanted to get into that a little bit, because there was a bunch of stuff that came out this year that was pretty exciting. Actually, I wanted to ask, what do you think is like for both of you guys? Maybe more so for Tyler on this one, but what do you think was the best over-ear headphone released in 2020? Because we've already done like what we like, as of.
I'd say Radiance, Focal Radiance.
Focal Radiance, best headphone released. I'm gonna go with. It's a tough one, because there were a number of. I guess the head audio headphone doesn't really count because it was released. It was like a soft release at the end. Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was only. I think
that's
it only
a good one though. That's another one that would be probably.
I think it only really got in the hands of customers in 2020.
So 2020, yeah.
So it probably counts as a 2020 release.
I have it sitting over there.
Yeah, I just hope they make it a little lighter. Maybe that's one
a lot
day
lighter.
It's a bit heavy for me.
I've seen that thing. It's like a monster, man.
It is,
Monster.
Yeah. Or
maybe
you know
we
what?
can get down to you, Theo, and you can check it out.
Not.
Saw it on Ant's head. That was
yeah.
It's like 3/4 his body. It's amazing.
I think that's gonna be like me. Though.
Good thing ants are strong.
I think they have to do like a suspension style headband for something that heavy, right? Like the Odyssey stuff is around that heavy, and with the suspension headband, it's okay. I mean, it's not ideal, but
Andrew had confirmed it did ship in January, but we did have it prior, I think.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say it counts as a 2020 release.
It counts 2020.
So that would be like, as far as like what the coolest like wow over your headphone experience was for me, it would be that one, like for just strictly for sound quality, not comfort necessarily.
I know it's Precogs is.
Headphone?
Yeah, it's the HDMI.
It wasn't even released this year.
Yeah, but that was your.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're going with stuff that was released this year specifically.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think though. Was there anything else that was released this year even at like lower price tags? That was.
I mean, you have the Zeus. You have right. That was new.
Well, both of those Harmonic Dynes, yeah, but they're not.
Harmonic Dynes.
I wouldn't say they're.
560S got released.
560S. Yes.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. Good point.
Over there. Yeah.
I heard that one. That was decent.
I mean, it's okay. It's just underwhelming for what it is, right? I mean, sorry, it's not underwhelming. It got hyped up so much that when I did hear it, I was kind of
yeah.
There's this wonderful Drop X Hi-Fi Man HE5XX that got released this year, and the Deva.
I thought that was the Deva. Yeah, I thought it was a murdered out Deva.
Yeah. And then there's also this
5XX.
I don't know if this was released this year, but this is the Ultrasone Edition 15, and this is horrible. No, okay, I shouldn't say that. It
looks nice though.
It looks nice. Actually, it's not horrible. I shouldn't say that. It's more just that it's not competitive at the $3,600 price tag. That's the only issue with this.
Oh, okay.
If you would release this at $400, it would have been. Yeah. Okay.
I think that's always the case with a lot of this stuff, man. It's like the pricing is always going to be tough, right? Like,
well, actually, on the subject of pricing, it's I know why they did that, and I'll have a review of that soon as well. But the pricing issue is it's a strategy. So if you think about what Focal did when they released the Utopia and the Lear. The Utopia, just for everybody who's watching, Tyler's on his phone because he's in the chat. But yeah, the Utopia made huge waves because they released at such a high price tag. So it makes it so that everybody pays attention. And realistically, more people were probably going to buy the Lear because that's what they could afford. Whereas the Utopia at $4,000 is something that's a bit of a challenge. And I think a lot of brands saw the success of that. And we're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's do that too. But the problem is that the Utopia...
Everybody's doing it, right?
Well, yeah, and if you're going to do that, you have to be competitive with something like the Utopia.
You really bring your A game.
And when they're not, like the Ultrasone here, it's disappointing.
Yeah. So someone else, like, I think this is something that's actually really a good point, actually, that we're in this a little bit. Is that someone asked what makes the money of a headphone, right? So I think that this is any product really.
Yeah.
And people don't account for R&D. People don't account for the engineering, the process. And when I say R&D, I'm not necessarily meaning the materials. I'm talking about the design even of like the cups, the way that if it's an open back, like how the baffle looks, how even the look of it, right? Like there's so much there that gets put into it that you have to account for that, and they're trying to make companies are trying to make money, not break even. That's the other factor.
Yeah, it has to be profitable to a certain extent, right?
Otherwise, what's the point, right? Like,
I do think there's probably like a line to draw somewhere where, like for example, that.
Yeah, definitely.
That one. You guys know what that is.
Taryn mentioned it. He brought it up.
That is just. The price is just
sometimes
insane.
it's just money for money's sake, right?
That doesn't make sense, right? But I mean, the material cost is never going to be like on its own. It's never going to be reflect the price. Never. Even in the stuff that's really well built, like the Utopia or the LCD4, the material cost is not where that goes. or most of the price tag goes. But I think that it was actually Tom from Juno who was explaining this. But a lot of the cost goes into being set up for production. So if you have, if you're just making like a handful of headphones, it doesn't cost that much if you can make it yourself, right? Because the material cost, the driver cost, it's not that high.
When
but
you get bulk,
exactly, but being set up, the tooling, all that stuff, being set up for production, and you want to mass produce, or not even mass produce, but like.
But the thing is that like the audience for this is not. We're a niche audience, so they're not going to be making huge runs of these. Generally speaking, that's
unless
drive up the cost.
Yeah, unless you're Sennheiser or
Yeah, right.
So that is another thing. Absolutely, right. If you're like, I'm just imagining like for ZMF, that's an example where the material cost is probably quite a bit higher. And then, but more important than that is the labor that goes into, or the time that goes into handcrafting all that stuff, right? So, so that I imagine that the cost of headphones is different depending on which brand it is or which manufacturer it is. Because and even with Odyssey as well, there's a lot of stuff that's actually handmade there too. So it's not just about
I'm trolling by
production.
the way, so. Just
you're trolling the chat.
Yeah, a little bit. Sorry, I saw an opportunity. I had to take it. Juno said Aurora's Audio Borealis is one of the best headphones to come out. Blah 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 blah. And then someone asked shortly afterwards, which is the most overrated headphone? And you know what my answer was.
Of course.
It was low hanging fruit.
I don't think it's overrated, man. People did not like the build. Like that was.
I'm just to be clear. I am joking.
But I that was like the most commented thing is like what's going on with the build here, because
it's
exposed wires.
Real. It's not the best.
It's not the prettiest. No.
Not the prettiest. Yeah.
Sounds great. I like the sound.
I mean, it sounded. Oh, when I heard it, I thought it was good. So here's the other factor: like people need to account for their own use case. I like things to look good as well as sound good, right? And so if I'm going to spend $1,000 on something, and it looks like that, I might just save up an extra $200 or wait for a sale and get the clears.
Yeah. Get an Alere with the clear pads or whatever.
Or like I mean, there's just I think that's going to be totally subjective and preference and bias based and all other fun stuff. So it's you really just need to come down and figure out what your own things that you like, and who gives a damn what anybody else thinks wise.
There's a lot of timbre heads. Timbre heads?
Timbre heads.
Who that's all they care about. They're not interested in the rest of the.
Oh yeah. I believe same with the measurement crowd, right? Like that it's like they as long as the measurements, and I'm talking about amps, not necessarily headphones.
Oh, like there's that source gear. Yeah,
like source gear, like where it's like they don't care what it sounds like. They just want to make sure that the squiggles make the THD that they want, and
the
like
synads, right in the synads,
right in the synads. Just like pow.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like that's your thing. That's your thing. Who cares what anybody else thinks? You don't need to be angry about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of the. With all this stuff, like these are, I might report it, or we might report it as I don't know, definitive or whatever it is, right? This headphone is good or this headphone is bad, but I'm just one dude, right? Like we're just people.
Yeah, we're just people. But at the end of the day,
you like it, right?
Yeah.
It goes back to that whole thing with the Empyrean, right? Like there are people who I agree with about the Empyrean, and but I'm just one dude.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm with you 100%. I had it here for a little bit. Android has it now as a review unit.
Yeah, and, he's going to be a contrarian deliberately, and he's going to say it's amazing. No,
I think he did say. So I was chatting with him about this, and he actually mentioned in the forum. He's like, and I was chatting with him on the side, but he actually thought it sounds. And I have the same thing where it's a weird headphone in the sense that when it works well. Like it's like, oh wow, it's smooth. It's like, oh, this is great. Yeah. It makes sounds, and you're like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, like another track will come on, and it'll just not work, and you're just like.
Actually, that's kind of like the Final Audio A8000, the IEM, the beryllium IEM, where on some stuff it's like totally fine, and then
But you witnessed me do that. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, we saw you do that.
Yeah. And but then some stuff like where it tokens like the peak that's there.
Yeah.
Like,
also, you're just like,
oh, that's not
wait.
good. Yeah.
And that's something that's what kind of leads into the synergy of things too. I was talking to somebody about that, where it's like, I think it was just someone messaged me on a different thing, and I responded, and I was like, they asked about amps, or like, why some people think this amp works better than this amp with other things, and it's like, well, one, preference, biases, synergy, right? And so synergy is real too. Like, you could have a super bright headphone or IEM, and then pair it with a really warm DAP or DAC amps synergy, and it might bring it more in balance and in line with what you'd like. But it also factors what you like, keywords. What you know
what's funny is having the Harmonic 9 Zeus here. To me, now it's not doing the same thing as if you were to pair a reference headphone with a tube amp, for example, to warm it up, but it gives you that kind of experience. Like, I can see people being like, oh yeah, I like that. And it's, if you don't want to spend, the crazy amount of money to get into the high-end tube stuff, and you just want a version of that, I could see that being a similar experience. But yeah, synergy is real. Output impedance, and like, for example, with Focal headphones, output impedance can warm it up like crazy.
I played with I have the T4 here, which, rest in peace, apparently they aren't going to be making those anymore. So whoever has one.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, they officially, I think they're not officially, but semi-officially announced that they just can't find the parts for it. So
it sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. It's a fantastic amp. But with the Focal stuff, you put the low to high, and that's like where you just talked about.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you go from really nice, enjoyable, smooth to flip up to high mode, and you're like, very fun.
Yeah.
It's like boost engage, or like
well, that's what was fun about the Cayenne boat thing,
yeah.
right? Just going crazy with the bass, with the impedance selector.
Or like for precog with the Neo or the U12T and the
the modules.
Does he have it? The modules where you can get the
Apex. Yeah. And actually, did you ever try any of those with the Fur Audio modules?
No, I never got my hands on those.
Okay.
I hear good things from Titian.
Yeah. He likes it kind of strikes a middle balance, because the MX module totally rolls off the sub bass, and then I think the one for Fur Audio hits somewhere in between that and M15. Which would probably be pretty ideal.
Yeah.
Because the issue I found with the Neo is that when you use the MX, like that 5K hertz peak, it kind of gets brought to the forefront a little more than it would with the M15, because the bass quantity sort of balances it out.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So getting something in between. I mean, that was my take as well. It's like you have like the MX, which is like, it's at a 5, and then the next step up is already a 10 for bass.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly.
Yeah, needs something a little more in between.
What's everyone's, since we all since there's been a crap ton, what was everyone's favorite IEM release this year?
That was my next topic. Stealing my thunder.
I stole your thunder.
Best IEM of 2020. I even have it written down.
Okay.
Let's start with precog.
Well, I still haven't heard the Dusk, I still haven't heard the Monarch or the Clairvoyance, but I'm gonna go with Dusk. It's really, really good. It's just the overall tonal balance is, at least to what I've heard so far, there's nothing really in the $300 bracket that competes.
I agree. At the 300, both of them, Blessing 2 and Dusk.
Yeah, Blessing 2 and the Dusk. It just, they go uncompeted against.
Yeah. For now.
Yeah, for now.
I mean,
that's the keyword.
The IEM world, man, so fast and furious.
Well, that's the thing is, like, for me, the best IEM of 2020 was the Odin.
Yeah,
but,
I would say Odin.
But the most exciting thing about IEMs was that now all this stuff, basically it's a changing of the guard, in my opinion, as far as IEM manufacturers and what the best IEMs are and where the best value is, because the stuff that's coming out from Moondrop, The Audio, and Dunu, and a number of these other companies is just on another
completely
level.
changing the game.
Yeah, and at much lower price tags. Like, it's crazy. Like I'm even just thinking like a year ago,
Gauntlets have
a
been
couple of years
thrown.
ago. Yeah, like we would never have had that, and nothing would have been able to compete with that. And I actually, in my mind, it's in some ways a testament to the work that Crin's been doing and other IEM reviewers who are measuring stuff and having getting a better sense of how IEMs should measure and how they should sound.
Right.
And that really is like it's putting it's basically, as he puts it, keeping the manufacturers honest, but it's having good results too, right? So, yeah, in many ways, the most exciting IEMs I think of 2020 are the Clairvoyance and the Monarch.
Yeah,
because
I really love those. Those are fantastic.
And I was even just in my comparison with the SA6, like the SA6 is fantastic, and I think at the 550 price mark, I think it's that's what I would buy. But if you go up, spend $200 more, whatever it is, like $170 more, and you get into the Clairvoyance and the Monarch, and it's like those ones are then that next step, and it kind of blows everything else out of the water under $1,000, and then a lot of stuff that's even more expensive. So
very true. I haven't heard the Dusk, but I have heard the other
Blessing 2.
E2.
Yeah. You heard you did hear the Monarch and the Clairvoyance.
Yeah,
well.
I love the Monarch. Monarch was my favorite.
Yeah.
I had the Clairvoyance in for a long time, but I haven't had the Monarch in. But I only had the Monarch for a short amount of time. I actually have this from Ant too.
Oh, what's
The
that?
L4.
Yeah, the 4.
That's the other
The
one.
L4's pretty nice.
That's
That's probably another $200 contender.
Yeah.
Is it? I haven't. I mean, actually, it has.
I mean, it's got its issues, but
Let's get you guys
$200
excited.
that's expected.
There it is.
See, and
Now you're
publishing
excited.
frequency response on that stuff, it's I love it. We're getting better stuff when people, when manufacturers
Just
pay
the
attention to that
transparency
stuff.
is commendable.
And it just goes to show that everybody wins when there's that kind of I'm going to say the word relationship to
transparency.
information. Yeah. Okay. I have. I mean, I was just going to say, did the Mest come out in 2020?
It did.
Because that would be Tyler's pick.
Oh,
for
that's
best-
my
that
pick.
would be
That's,
Tyler's pick.
yeah, that's my pick. Mest is.
See,
I
I'm
had
stealing your
the
thunder
U12T.
now. No.
Yeah, you did. Hey. It's okay. It's reciprocal.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mest would be my. I mean, I bought it. I mean, and I talk about it all the time, and I always joke the Mest is the best and stuff like that. But yeah, that one is fantastic.
U12T makes you go pee.
That's right.
Aaron.
It's that good.
So the U12T, I actually had the U12T in, and then I bought the Mest, and I chose the Mest over the U12T.
Mm-hmm.
Heresy.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah.
That makes and Precog, you have my Mest right now,
Yeah, I do have it.
my precious.
It's wonky, but it's the good kind of wonky. I'll say that.
Yep. I agree.
And
That U shape.
It's weird. Like it has like certain. It's like almost like I would call it like a chameleon almost, right? Where it chameleon might not be the right word, but it's where it almost like molds to like the track that you're listening to for whatever reason.
Yeah,
for
I
me sometimes.
can kind of see that. Yeah.
It's got crazy good detail and imaging.
Yeah,
Yeah, the imaging is just.
Yeah.
imaging
I
is
don't know how to
fantastic.
explain it exactly, but it's just so out there the way it
It's
images.
good, man.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
It's just a fun headphone IEM. It's just enjoyable.
I wish they would fill in the mids, and then although that's with the bone conduction stuff as well, so
Yeah.
it's hard to say how that's because the experience of that is probably going to be different for everybody. Whereas, I mean,
How thick's your skull?
I think the
right?
tuning differs too
It's
between the normal and the custom.
Yeah, the custom and the
'Cause
universal.
Yeah.
I could see it being even better with the custom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
'Cause you get the
actually,
best
I'm
of all
actually intrigued at doing that. I might actually end up doing
Because
that.
Ant got a custom. He really likes it. He likes it more than the universal. But then
Yeah.
I was
I
looking
tried
at the
his
measurements.
customs and they didn't really work for me.
But that's because
Whatever.
they're his
They
custom.
don't fit. That's how customs work.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I actually joked
put 'em
with
in
Dad about
backwards.
That. I was like, give me your customs. I'll test them.
I don't know how people do that because I tried someone's Viento custom and it was
Not possible.
painful.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get it in, and like it just.
And have you seen Ant's custom? It looks like
No, I haven't seen it. What's it like?
it's full on.
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to do that. I don't like custom. customs. No,
Yeah.
I want to. I have
but,
a hard
yeah.
enough time with the
I know
etymologic
IEMs.
stuff. So
Yeah, I don't like things going too deep.
yeah.
Total IEM for the year released.
Odin.
I think we all have the same answer. Yeah, as Odin. Odin was probably the definite one for me. But
Yeah. Yep. Odin, like the way that it handles the bass, the detail, like it's just crazy good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have more. Okay, what was your biggest surprise of 2020?
Biggest surprise.
Like something that you weren't expecting to like,
To like.
or
dislike.
you were expecting to like it and you didn't.
That's tough. Oh,
Doesn't have to be
You know,
something that you have there.
yeah, no, I'm just trying to think of like all my experiences this year, and I think honestly, my biggest disappointment. For
No,
the
we'll
year,
get to
not
that.
It's a
That's
bad,
next.
Okay. So the best, the biggest surprise. I'd probably have to say it's going to go back to the IEMs, man, and I would probably say the Monarch. That was that was fantastic. Like, I was instantly enamored by it, and so I really liked that one a lot. That was probably my biggest. Wasn't expecting much. That probably helped, and then it just was like, yes, I like this.
Precog, biggest surprise.
Maybe the HD 800S, I guess. I mean, I've listened to it before actually, but it was always in the shop, so I couldn't really like tell what I was actually hearing. And it's definitely a shocker. The amount of detail is just really not comparable to a lot of the IEMs I've heard previously.
Yeah.
It just, and I've often heard like people say that there are headphones that are revealing of like poorly recorded source material, but I've never really felt that applied to like when I'm listening to IEMs, but it definitely applies to the HD 800S. It's crazy resolving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets even better when you rip the connectors out.
That's never going to die, is it?
No.
Poor Chrono.
In fact, where do I have that? I think that's sitting right here somewhere.
His broken HD800S.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
There's a part of me, I was looking at it, and so I see how it did it. Like I just kind of was seeing how it broke, or whatever. It looks like it was just a bad soldering job by the manufacturing.
It wasn't Chrono's fault, right? Then it was.
No, you could tell.
Okay.
It was like it's inside the wires that were connected.
Well, it's his fault because he's cursed, but it's not.
Yeah, like you could see that it was just not inserted properly, and the wires themselves were not.
But I bet you could fix it.
I could. It's just a soldering job.
Yeah.
I even have the stuff to fix it. It's just you get these little heat wrap stuff, and you put the two ending connectors in, and then you just heat wrap and do a heat gun,
and then it's worth more because it's custom.
and it's been wonderfully chronoed.
Chronoed, yeah. Yeah. Okay. For me, the biggest surprise was, I was gonna say the Odyssey LCD XC, but I just falling in love with Odyssey's technical performance was probably the biggest surprise for me, because I mean I've been on Team Hi-Fi Man for a long time, because I love the default Hi-Fi Man sound signature. I think it's fantastic, and getting to try all these high-end Odysseys and with EQ and everything, and seeing how crazy the technical performance is on even just like the LCD2, and like the LCD XC and that whole range, it surprised me how much I like it, and how much it how much it does everything well.
We saw.
Well, metal knows the meme that's got to happen soon. We got to get NetForce on it, but
oh yeah, he has some pretty good memes with that.
Yeah. Andrew is now owned by Sankar. Yeah. Well, people were calling him an Odyssey shell, and there was no danger of that with me, and now I think I'll get that as well. Maybe it's because my neck's gotten stronger after wearing heavy headphones. So now I'm okay with it. Rad Zero as well, right? Like it's another heavy headphone.
Rad Zero's a headphone, yeah.
Yeah.
That one's. You think that Rad Zero is fantastic, but it's heavy. But it's I think the part that makes it unique is that the way the it slides down on your ears.
Yes, but also what I didn't know is that he even said like you can just bend the headband out if the clamp is too intense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which it was for me. Like big heads, audiophiles with big heads, and Chrono as well. And apparently his head won. So
it did.
Yeah.
Because that's actually a very good point. Because the same with because I had Terrence in, and it's it's been used and stuff. Terrence got I think we have relatively similar heads, but you could tell like that.
Just measuring heads.
Yeah, I think his head's a little bit bigger, at least width wise, and I could feel
not anymore because he's been wearing the Rad Zero.
I know. It's questions to me. Yeah. But I did notice that too. Actually, I prefer having a little more clamp with the Rad Zero specifically because it helps hold it in position a little better.
Yeah. And the pads are super comfy.
Super comfortable. Yeah.
I just think for that weight though, but after the reduced weight, I could get through a whole day. It was great. Like the second and third versions that I heard, the weight was much better. And I do think that for the for heavy headphones, a suspension style headband is desirable.
Suspension is what.
Yeah. Odyssey kind of has done a good job with that. I see Odyssey LCD 5 is in the works. Who told you that?
Yeah. News to me. But I mean,
if 5 is going to be 5K, that would be.
They're targeting over a 5K price point.
Yeah. Ooh. I know Odyssey is doing exciting stuff for 2021. I just don't know what it is. All that stuff is speculation. So.
See, that's a trend I wouldn't mind seeing brought down, actually, the high price points.
Well, but this is the thing I was just saying with...
We were just discussing
stuff
we had to discuss that,
like this, right? Where it's like, if you're going to release a flagship, you make just as many waves in that world by having a big price tag as any other marketing, And I mean, I learned that even just talking to people at CanJam, where you could see that the strategy was there, like for DACs and amps and stuff like that as well, where
it's definitely there.
They're just banking on the fact that it's a high priced item that people are going to pay attention to. This costs how much? Oh, I have to hear it.
Yeah. Well, then that's the problem though. I think that's a newer problem that they're not used to is your show. These other people, like the people are getting their hands on them now, and they're not as afraid to.
That's right.
Push up against that and go, dude.
Yeah, and then the pushback is sort of amplified when that happens.
They might be used to the typical, like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Here's an award.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's where I think that's what I think is going to slowly, hopefully that will bring it down more in reality a little bit.
Yeah, or just make it so that I'm fine with the stuff getting more expensive. I just want the stuff that is expensive to be good.
To perform, that is the price point. I agree.
Yeah. Price stuff at 5K, 6K, whatever, but make it so that stuff is competitive. And if it's not competitive, that then we'll let you know.
Problem.
Yeah. I saw another comment. Someone asked what kind of jazz I listen to. Oh yeah, Owen asks question for Andrew. What jazz does he listen to? I listen to jazz. I listen to good jazz. That's.
I was gonna say jazz is jazz, man. Like just.
I like a lot of. I like Chick Corea. I like piano jazz. Tingval Trio. Go-Go Penguin is awesome.
Go-Go Penguin's fantastic.
Yeah. But just jazz in general. I'd say it often borders on some of the more experimental stuff or like the more out there stuff, rather than the easy listening, to playlist jazz, or elevator music.
Acid jazz.
Right? No, it's more like
there's a name for it. Like
I love there's a band called the Bad Plus that I really like, and it's what they'll do is they'll take really well-known songs, like they take a Nirvana song, for example, and then they'll do something totally wild with it. I like that kind of stuff. The recording quality is not that great, but that's like if I'm just listening for enjoyment, it is often jazz. Okay, I have more questions here. Someone's asking, are we going to do a Stax headphone in the future? If we can get one. That's really the barrier, is being able to get
and they have that. You have to have special equipment for it and all that kind of stuff.
I mean I did review the what is it? The Warwick Acoustics E-Stat, which I thought was good for a specific type of thing, but it also lacked a bit of the dynamics, which is a bit of a shame. Okay, so the biggest disappointment, the biggest letdown of 2020. I think you guys know what my answer is, but I'm going to go with Tyler first on this one.
Biggest letdown, I would say it's mostly because of the hype of it. It's not a bad headphone per se. It's just that it got a lot of hype and it kind of fell prey to that what we just talked about. The whole was the sitting right behind me, the 560S. That was a very underwhelming headphone. I mean, it's a good headphone, but like because I watched videos and reviews of it, I was like, okay, so this is the next coming. Like this is another really good headphone. And
I mean, that's the thing, is that it did better than the HD6XX or 650, 600 in some aspects in terms of soundstage, right? Bass extension. Did not as good for detail and speed and, running it off.
Well, I also have the PC38X here as well at the same time. And I did a back-to-back comparison with those two. And I was like, that's basically they sound very similar. Yeah. Like, so that was... And then,
it wouldn't surprise me either,
Yeah, and the PC38X is like, I think it's cheaper by like
$50,
and it has a really good mic.
Yeah,
I don't know, and I think that's my other thing is like I think my other disappointing reason is that because of things that I want to see. Actually, we'll lead into that next, I guess, maybe potentially is like things it was on one of the threads in the forum. Like what I'd want to see. Not necessarily, but anyways.
Well, let's get into that at the end of the
So precog.
Precog. What was your
biggest disappointment? Was the MMR stuff, the Thummim and the homunculus. Yeah,
Thummim is the greatest name for an audio. Thummim, that's great.
Yeah, those. Oof, like the
not
units that got
tequila.
sent out for review. The tequila is pretty bad too.
Yeah,
but, I think this is the price tag. It comes back to the price tag thing we were talking about, and how that disappointment is amplified when it's so much more expensive too.
Yeah,
like the units they sent out, they didn't even sound the same on each side. Like there was massive channel imbalance on the homunculus.
Yeah.
So that kind of killed it for me. But yeah,
I mean, in some ways, the runner-up for that for IEMs would be the campfire stuff, the new, like the Dorado and the Vega, like the 2020 revisions.
I saw it,
yeah. That it's not that like the originals weren't all that special in my mind, but seeing them taking steps to kind of rejuvenate their lineup with the 2020 revision of the Andromeda and trying to do that with the Solaris as well, and trying to it looked like they're going to be competitive with
there's potential here, right?
Potential, because the technical performance of that stuff's always been great.
Yeah.
But then seeing what the result was for some of these other ones, it was like, rats.
Yeah.
But no, for me, the biggest disappointment is the AirPods Max, of course. I mean, I don't even know if it counts as a disappointment because I didn't have that high hopes for it. Because I kind of knew what it was going in. But I mean, I think for anybody,
there's always the hope that
there's the hope that like I would love the idea of a really nice audiophile, like a good sounding noise canceling headphone, because everything out there right now for noise canceling headphones doesn't really sound that great. They always have some issue, and so I was like hyped because like the AirPods Pro were fantastic, and I thought, oh well, they've tuned that really well. Maybe they can do that with the AirPods Max, and no. It's funny, like there's a lot of stuff that Max Settings said about the AirPods Max that I definitely agree with, and he's one of the few other people who noticed the real lack of detail on the smearing that goes on to that headphone. So it was good to see that it wasn't just hyped up by everybody, and that there was some honesty as well. Metal
Taryn
says
pretty honest about it.
Yeah, Taryn was really honest about it. I liked his term for it. I think he called them tech phones or like something like that. Let's see. Metal says, I know Andrew likes the 007 2.9. Maybe you could do the ESP95X. That's the COS ESTAT system. Yeah, it should be pretty easy to get one of those in. Yeah, I definitely want to try that one. I almost heard it at the Seattle meetup, but then I got distracted by something from CMF, I'm sure.
We had a bunch of ZMS. We had the SR1A. We had, I mean, there's a ton of. We had the Borealis. Australis were there.
Litchi was there actually. That was fun to connect with a lot of those people. It goes back to what we were saying earlier. I really hope in 2021 we can do more of those meetups again, but we'll see. We'll see what state the world is in. Okay. Most unique design of 2020. Good. Tyler, did you hear the SR1A in 2020? Was that a 2020 thing?
No.
It was before that. Okay.
Most unique design. Most unique design. And design means anything from like the aesthetic to the actual.
Yeah, you could do both, right? You could do, like, so for example, I'll go first. The most unique design as far as like sound, like transducer goes, it's the head audio headphone. Because of it's such a unique, a full range AMT, air motion transformer in a headphone is not something that's been successfully done until now.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Unique melody, mess.
There you go. That's another one. It's unique design, both the aesthetics and the yeah. I mean, I would agree that for design, like aesthetics and stuff like that, that's a fantastic looking IEM. Just thinking for over-ear headphones.
Try most unique. Like for.
You go with Focal Radiance.
I was gonna say Radiance. It's such a pretty. It's just a really nice looking.
Somewhere out there's like someone who hates Bentley that's triggered by
that. Yeah. That's the only problem with the Radiance. Really, at the end of the day, like it's just
cross out Bentley and write Empire Ears on it. And keep the wings.
Keep the wings. Like I'd say, honestly, I still think Focal, between my top two favorite looking headphones of all time are Focal and ZMFs.
Oh, I have an answer though. But I'm saying for this year, right? Because
for this year,
it's obviously those new stabilized woods from Zach,
ZMF,
where he's doing crazy stuff with like the VC and the stabilized maple burl and whatever else. And we saw some beginnings of that at Can Jam, and now even more recently, we've seen some more photos of different colors and things. Yeah, they look fantastic. Chrono's VC is awesome looking as well.
Yeah, with the burl. Burl.
But my other answer was actually going to be the Odyssey LCD2 Shedua. Is a gorgeous headphone. Shedua. And I do think that's this year. Well, at least that one was from this year.
Specifically.
Yeah, I don't know if I think they were doing Shedua before that, but specifically different from Bamboo, which is the other style. And also just I think Odyssey was doing some of those unique woods. Again, I'm all on Odyssey now, so as Mel knows.
What do you think?
I don't know. I guess the mess too. Honestly,
I
don't really know if there's anything that like maybe the Duna Luna. Did that come out this year?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the first full beryllium driver IEM, or one of the first.
And
that's pretty unique
for both of them.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think Mest is bone conduction is not normal.
But is it actually doing anything? That's the thing.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
It's hitting the faceplate, which is then vibrating
But what I wonder is maybe it's doing that more in customs than it is in
because it's making more of this.
Android did say with the customs that the bone conduction is a lot more present, or a lot more apparent.
Cool. Maybe it gives it some mids.
I don't think the mids are lacking though. Even on the
it's not lacking. Man. It's only at a specific spot in relation to the treble, like the 6K treble is like, yeah.
So the 6K treble, there's a peak there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. I just see lots of comments here. My 2020 headphone award goes to community at the headphone show and Metal 571. That's nice to hear. Metal says, I didn't do anything for this community in 2020 except to nudge the other reviewers in the right direction. Yes, he's definitely been helpful for that. And actually, I mean, I got to give a big thank you to all the folks who've helped us learn and get new information, like Mad Economists and all these people who've been extremely helpful on the technical side of things, the measurement side of things. And then also like the manufacturers we've spoken to, like we spoke with Sankar twice this year. We spoke with Focal, Head Audio, Rawson. Like, yeah, all of that. It's been super informative. Fangbian at CanJam, right? That's contributed so much to like learning and the body of knowledge that we have. So, because hearing it directly from the manufacturers is it's super informative. Okay, I have, let's see, at least one more. Oh yes, best DAC of 2020 and best amp of 2020. Tyler.
That came out or that we had heard?
That came out around 2020. Like,
I would say for best DAC, Bifrost 2, best amp, T4.
Okay.
For me personally.
Not the. I thought you were gonna go with the Hugo. I guess that didn't come out in.
Didn't come out. Yeah.
What? I'm just thinking. Did the Rupert Neve Fidelis come out in?
That was 2019.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Taryn did bring it with him to CanJam.
Brought him to CanJam.
Yeah, because that would have been my answer. Because that thing, even though it's just an off-the-shelf AKM $44.99,
they did some magic.
It does some magic, yeah. Okay, apart from that, that's a tough one. For me and like my preferences, the best DAC, it's gonna be. Because the Matrix Audio X-Saber Pro is my favorite DAC, but it didn't come out this year, I don't think, in 2020. I don't think. So I'm going to go actually with either the SMSL SU9, which I thought I was surprised, at the price point. I was surprised. And I mean, I know that the topping D90 and all that stuff is great too, but the SMSL implementation of ESS-based DACs without intermodulation distortion at a very low price point, being balanced, having Bluetooth, whatever, all that stuff, all those features, I thought was really, really cool. But I'm actually going to give it to this little Sonko's, you guys can't see it, it's all plugged in, but the little Sonko's LA QXD1 or whatever it is. It's $200 and it's tiny, and it's a balanced DAC that sounds about the same as the SU9, just without all the features. So it doesn't have the display or anything like that. So that's gonna be my answer for the DAC, even though it's not a crazy high-end DAC. It's just a very good sounding DAC for cheap.
That's like the Bifrost too. Like I think it performs.
Well, I was gonna say the Modius and the Magnius are those.
That's another great.
Those are the
combo.
other stack to compare with. But
someone's mad that we didn't say the DCS Bartok.
Didn't hear it.
Didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
And also, that's a very, 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 very expensive.
Yeah. I think for the amps, I haven't heard it yet, but Taryn would say probably the Rebel amp, because and I'm hopefully going to do a review of that soon. But yeah, for amps, for me, I don't know, that there really isn't like I don't have a straightforward answer, because I don't have. There wasn't anything for solid state amps that I heard this year that came out this year that really blew me away. I think the coolest one that I heard was the Nimbus one at CanJam, but that was like the Nimbus from it's Vioelectric or Lake People, that group. Yeah.
They came out this year. That's the hard part.
But that's the thing, is they
plenty of ones.
Yeah, exactly, right. But this year that came out, that Nimbus thing I heard at CanJam was pretty crazy. Some of the Woo Audio stuff was pretty crazy. Again, just thinking about CanJam, there were so many unique amps that were there.
What about the Harris? So the Harris, was that 2019 or 2020 for the?
Ooh,
I think that was 2019 for the new shit.
But the topping L30 was 2020. So that's I mean, it's versatile. Sounds good. I don't know if it would be like my pick though for there's got to be something else.
I was gonna say.
Is there a tube amp that came out this year that was exciting? I don't know. I'm probably sleeping on something here. If you guys in the chat have any thoughts on favorite amps that came out this year, and we can't say what is it, SP 200 or whatever it is, or the next THX amp. Like it's the same as all the other ones.
It's the same. It's the exact same thing, just different name.
Yeah. Someone's gonna say the A90, and I'm gonna go, eh.
Yeah, the same thing. Actually, for like something that was underwhelming, that was one for me.
Oh
the
yeah,
A90,
okay. Man, that Soundware P1 thing.
That was fantastic.
That was great. Yeah.
God, that thing was. Dude, like,
but did that come out this year? I don't know enough
no,
about it.
No, that's 2017 or something like that. 2016, 2017. That's an older. Yeah, that was like I was thinking the same thing actually. Like I was like, that's So like, but yeah, like that was one of them. But I'm trying to think. Nothing.
It's probably the Rebel amp. That's going to be the answer, even though I haven't had a chance to review it yet. Soon.
Just released the new Jotunheim 2 just came out. That just
actually, and probably, I mean, if I had a chance to hear it all,
too.
The shit audio stuff would probably be the they did the most this year, I think.
Yeah,
with the Modius, the Magnus.
Modius Magnus.
And then
I think they still have like 10 more. They hinted at like 10 more things that are being released over the next year.
Really?
Or two.
Wow.
Anyways, yeah.
Oh wow.
And shit audios, like they in my, at least for me, they kind of like faded away a little bit. Like I used to own a bunch of shit stuff, and they weren't. Yeah, that joke is never gonna get old. He's like, yeah, you own a ton of shit stuff.
I just haven't heard it before, I guess. So
okay.
I don't really delve into like amp stocks, really.
As Tyler says, the shite stuff.
Shite, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like I feel like they've come back in 2020 in ways that I wasn't expecting, with Modius, Magnus, and they've been very competitive. And so it's not just the toppings and the SMSLs of the world that are making competitive stuff in the DAC amp world these days. We see, and honestly, like this Sonkos stuff, I'm surprised at how good it is. So
you know, it is
SPL's come out with the Phonitor ones and stuff like that. So
yeah, I want to hear those.
I haven't heard them yet. Yeah.
Something before I jump to Precog real quick, I wanted to say something. JDS Labs, they never get talked about a lot, but I think that the Element in LDAC stack, or the Element 2,
those are not 2020 though.
Not 20. The Element 2 I think was 2019.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but just as an aside, like those are great entry level as well. As far as, or not entry level, but like they're technically
simply
for a lot of people.
Like, standalone units. And,
yeah.
Anyways,
what was I gonna ask? Sorry, brain went sideways, got sidetracked. ADHD, it's amazing.
See, I have the opposite problem where my attention span's way too long.
See, I'm like squirrel. See, I was in the middle of that and I read a comment and I was like, oh, and then I was like, and then my thought just went out the window. But I was gonna say, Precog, your amp DAC thoughts.
I don't have any
favorite
honestly.
DAP.
Favorite DAP.
It's just the DX160 because that's all I use.
Did that come out this year?
Do you have the SP1000?
Yeah, it's the 2020 version.
Yeah, so there you go. The DX160. Yeah. I actually like it too. I'm a little bit. Were you able to figure out a way to get it so that it can charge and be used as a DAC at the same time? Like a DAC from a computer?
No, I've never used it for that, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah,
because that's my biggest problem with it, and maybe there's a way to do it, but like when you put it into DAC mode, it loses the ability to charge from the plugged in. So you gotta have done a full charge, which is fine, but then it's a bummer when I'm trying to like measure IEMs and stuff like that when I'm using a DX220 or DX160.
Yeah.
It's just I leave it plugged in, and then the next day I'm like, oh, there's no charge. It's probably not good. Yeah, okay. So we did that. Now on to the question about what we hope for 2021. To get back to what Tyler was talking about before. I'll let you start.
The thing that I really want, and is I want Sennheiser to actually break from their tradition and actually create something new in the top end line. Like,
they did. They made the HD820.
That doesn't count. That's literally the HD800 that's been out forever. That they just put. I mean, they did some fantastic stuff with it, sure, like an engineering wise, but like I want like an actual like replacement for the HD800. I want that.
The HD850.
I want the HD 1080 or 900 or whatever.
Someone was saying the Sennheiser X Critical HD 850.
But yeah, like I want, and I don't even want like I want like I don't want it to look the same. I don't want it to be. I want them to actually break out of their norm and create something new, not a reshelled freaking something or five.
Let's get them to do
something.
a planar. Sennheiser
That'd be interesting.
See what that would be.
Planar.
It'd be pretty close to Hi-Fi Man, I think, as far as tuning goes.
Probably.
Yeah.
That makes sense. They're probably the closest to each other as far as that kind of signature.
Yeah, they're both going for more reference, kind of like neutral kind of thing.
Yeah.
In some of their designs, let's just leave that out of it. Where is it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other biggest disappointment for me in 2020 was the HE. But I think they're supposedly sending a new one. We're just making sure that it's not unit variation or something like that. But yeah, I mean, Hi-Fi Man in general has been kind of disappointing in 2020 for me. The Deva, the HE5XX, that whole controversy, and then the HER10P. Yeah. Even though I heard this is Vara this year, and it was like the best that I've ever heard. So
yeah, I think I'm excited for anything Focal does. I'm excited for anything ZMS doing. I think that's hopefully his new under $1,000 headphone pans out, and he can get it to happen. Well,
actually, on that subject, I mean, for 2021, I was talking to again some other folks from the IEM world, but they're telling me about some of the really cool stuff that's happening with dynamic drivers in 2020 or in 2021. And I don't know enough about it to get into all the details of that stuff, but it's pretty exciting. It seems at least like it's pretty. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on with like driver codings and things like that, and different dynamic driver designs, making the kind of performance that we would only be used to at much higher price tags now available at lower price tags, makes me think of the ZMF thing that you mentioned as well. Mm-hmm. What's that?
That's what I'm talking about too. About when I mentioned the pricing stuff, like like IEMs, I think they found this nice balance where you have stuff like the Odin. Yeah. But then at the same time, you have stuff like the Dusk. I haven't heard it, but I'm assuming
the audio stuff.
You have the audio stuff, the Monarch, the Clairvoyance, where it's like these things are performing really well for a price point that's at any other time could have been skyrocketed.
Well, and I expect that to happen with over-ear headphones, kind of. In a way. I mean, there's stuff coming out, from a lot of the same places, like for example the gold planar that came out, although that's not that great, but even honestly, like the harmonic dyne stuff, as much as it's not my kind of tuning, it's a more V-shaped kind of thing. It's cool that they're doing that, and maybe we'll see again in 2021 more of this kind of innovation going on with over-ear headphones too, like we've seen with IEMs at a lower price tag, good value, good price to performance.
The trickle down. I want to see the trickle down.
Because like for this past year and a bit, that like more budget to mid-fi stuff has been dominated so hard by Hi-Fi Man and Sennheiser, like. The HD6XX and then the Hi-Fi Man Sandara, and then what else? Like,
and people always say like, "Well, what's your recommendation for under $500?" It's like, well, dude, you got 3 options. I mean, I don't
So a little more competition in that range is probably a good thing. If somebody can release a headphone that costs $500, that's better than the Sandara. Make it happen. That would be great.
Yeah. Zach.
Yeah, no.
The hero we need.
A little.
Hero we need.
Yeah, it might be a little more expensive than that.
It might be over. I think it's probably gonna be closer to 1,000.
Because he's got to make wood stuff too, right? So, yeah. Okay, other stuff that we hope for 2021, or expect, because I expect cool stuff coming up from both the planar world and the dynamic driver world. Rawson talked about this on the stream that we did with him with planars, where he's saying how there's really exciting stuff going on with planar technology in 2021. We're maybe on the cusp of a new the next step there for planars, whether it's actual performance or bringing that performance down to a more tolerable, palatable weight, that kind of stuff. So that's exciting on the planar side of things, and I think what they're the different materials being used now in dynamic drivers is exciting too. But You have a thought.
I do. Sorry, and it's mostly because I didn't really necessarily like the headphone, but like, when did the Empyrean came out in 2019?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we listened to it at that.
That's right. Up in Canada too. And so
up in Canada,
at the office,
way up north,
up in the great white north.
In the igloo, the rainy igloo.
I know the muck. I call it the muck in the northwest.
Oh, it's just miserable out here right now. The last month and a bit's just been gross.
Yeah. I try to go on a hike, and it's like it's like that's pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
Like that noise. But I was gonna say the Empyrean, what you're talking about, like comfort, design, all that stuff. I might not necessarily like the sound performance from me personally, but like the way that they design.
Yeah,
the faces,
that's an innovation.
Like, that's unique innovation.
Totally.
I want to see that. Like
more of that.
Take the risk, I guess, to some level, as I wouldn't mind seeing. I know it sucks because it's tough. It's money out of your pocket.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think it worked out for them. I think the Empyrean worked out.
Dude, they're doing really good with that one. I mean,
let's now see that with a more competitive.
But let's see that trickle down. I want to see that. I want to see a $1,500 Empyrean that might not necessarily be as pretty,
or just the Empyrean at $1,500.
Or just the Empyrean at $1,500. We get I would have bought one, honestly. I would have bought it just because it does when it does work, it works fantastic. So
okay, so that kind of innovation, I think, more. I don't know. I want to see what Head Audio does next. I don't know if they're gonna.
I do too.
I don't know if they're gonna have anything in 2021, but like the AMT. I'm on the AMT
cool.
train. The way that the physicality of that.
I want to hear their speakers now. Like
me too, man. I'm
I want to hear
the speakers. I heard them at the when we went to Canada, but
I've heard them in demo scenarios, but nothing like.
But see, that's also like I the ones that I heard were the big tower mains, right?
I haven't heard,
And those only use
are impressive.
They are huge, and it was crazy, but they only use the AMT for the tweeter, as far as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know a lot of them that way. Yeah.
So what I'm curious about is like
how big can they get it?
Well, I'm more interested in like the studio monitors, like the small or like near field kind of stuff, where it's again, like for my space, I can't like big speakers. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, because of them, I'm definitely interested in what they're doing.
I'm actually I'm probably gonna get them here in the near future, but the Kef.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited to hear those. I mean, Marcello, Mr. Photography, has been ranting and raving and sending pictures, and I chat with him. I send him one of my Vidars, and he's been ranting and raving. So I'm excited to try those. But I also want to try all the Focal speakers too, especially the monitors that you're talking about. They have some really competitive.
I heard some of the actually just at the office. I heard some of those Focal. Studio
Aura,
whatever that is.
Aura 6 or something like that.
No, it was the BE6, the Beryllium
BE6, something. Beryllium version, yeah.
Andrew's in the chat. He can let me know the name of it. But I was like, whoa, the detail is like not what I expected from speakers. Because normally detail is like a headphone thing, and with speakers it's the physicality, and this was like, no, there's real detail here. Yeah,
and that's what I hear about the Kess too. So that's why I'm on the I want to almost, and everyone's been ranting and raving about these metas. Like that's what I think. Like you go on YouTube and you look up speakers, and like those are I don't know enough. Like it's been a while. I've been years out of the speaker game, and so and even when I was in the speaker game, I wasn't in the speaker game.
Solo 6 BE. Taryn said it.
There you go. BE6 BE. Yeah, I want to hear these. Because I've heard their big stuff. I've heard the Focal big stuff, like the 10,000 plus.
Grand Utopia.
Oh man, ridiculous! It's fantastic, but it's like I'm not spending that kind of money, and my wife will not let me have that.
Even if you did.
Even if I did, even if I had the money, she'd be like, "What the hell is that? And why is that in the living room?" Like,
I don't know. I think they look pretty cool.
I think they do too. Yeah. WAF is real though, so
yeah. But definitely, like at 2021, a look forward for me is more speaker stuff. Getting into that. And then for headphones, more innovations and seeing what the innovations are. I almost would have said, something that kind of bridges the gap between audiophile and consumer a little bit more, like the wireless ANC stuff that actually sounds good. But I don't think we're there for like a few years. I don't think, just seeing how badly the AirPods Max performed with all of Apple's R&D
I want to hear
behind them.
those still.
You know, to me, it's like, this was the best we could do. Like, come on, we're still a ways away. And actually, the company that I think is best positioned to do this, like, well, is Odyssey. Like, we never saw what happened with the LCD one closed. That never turned into anything, right? Or I don't know. Maybe it is, and maybe
Penrose
that's
is open, right? Is the Penrose
no,
open?
Penrose is closed. Penrose is Mobius, but
Mobius,
with low latency and no head tracking. But so Penrose is exciting, and hopefully we get one in for evaluation. But that's definitely more for the gamer audience.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm laughing.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. But I think Odyssey, if they'd be able to do, if they could, you know, something at around $500, you know, close back, or $600, a close back planar wireless ANC that has a reasonably neutral frequency response. That's what we want. That's, you know, and Odyssey is the company that I think is the most well positioned to do it, because everybody else hasn't. And I just mean because Odyssey is already doing stuff with the Mobius, right? So I'm sure they could figure out some way.
Have the infrastructure.
Yeah. And of course, as the brothers have said, you know, being able to travel more.
Yeah,
would be great.
I'm looking forward to that. Like, that's killing. Even we travel all the time as a family, so like that's been like the biggest like stress point for us.
Yeah, I want to go over to. I want to travel to Singapore and hang out with Kryn.
Oh yeah, I'd love to go to Singapore.
Singapore is
that's IEM haven, man.
Yeah,
like
I just food, the place is clean, and I just love Singapore. I want to go back. It's beautiful.
It's pretty humid there, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
very hot. Very hot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the weather.
It'd be worth it. I was gonna say we could go and, you know, go visit.
Hang out.
East Coast, but no, I'd rather go. I want to go visit.
I want to go to Singapore again. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I want to go check out Zepp and Co too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's on the list.
Yeah. Precog, what's your look forward for 2021?
I mean, I definitely want to get more into headphones because I honestly can't relate to a lot of the stuff you guys are saying on here, and that's why I don't really have as much input. And then outside of that, like to play a devil's advocate and to go back to the IM thing and how we're seeing a lot of these IMs popping up at really low price points that are competing with the top dogs. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I think that stuff isn't quite there yet, and I'd like to see something that is able to really
like
on the other end of
U12T
the spectrum.
competition.
I get what
you're saying.
Well past my benchmarks at that end.
Yeah.
Well,
wait until you hear the Monarch and the
I still hear those. So
Monarchs.
But I'm with you. Yeah, I agree. Like I think there's still, and this is the other thing with IEMs, right? Is that there's so much effort being put now into cool stuff with dynamic drivers, as Precog mentioned with Luna and the A8000, and now the Zen as well, Illumination. But I still do think there's a bit of distance there between all that stuff and the U12Ts of the world and the high end like the Odins and whatever else, right?
Yeah.
The traditional, I say traditional. It's not really traditional because they just came out, but the let's say hybrid or tribrid designs that are all the rage right now. From a tonality standpoint, they are clearly superior still. Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting to see if there's some catch up there or crossover, or honestly even something happening with planars and IEMs, which so far hasn't really worked out. But I gotta say, I don't know if you've heard this yet, Precog.
What is it?
Tin Hi-Fi P2.
I have that now.
The treble. Yeah.
This thing is insane.
You think the technical performance is like?
Well, okay, so you have to run it off of a crazy amplifier. This is not a DAP friendly IEM.
Okay.
You won't run it off your phone at all. It requires the balanced output on the Kai IHA6. Now I don't have to throw it into high gain, but still the balanced output. I mean, this is a really powerful desktop amplifier, and so I have to run it with a 4-pin balanced. And so the tuning is insane. Like the tuning for this,
I saw the treble layer. It's just like, oh shoot, it's what the
complete madness. This is IEMs for the deaf, like IEMs for dogs.
He will make you hear this treble.
But with EQ, because again, this is a desktop device. This is not a portable device.
Yeah.
With EQ, like you do with many planars, yeah, I do think. I mean, I don't think it's as good as like a SA6 or a Blessing 2 Dusk or some of these other ones, but it's definitely competitive for speed and for detail.
Okay.
I think
Ant did a mod to his. I need to listen to it.
It still lacks a little bit in the terms of dynamics, I think, as is common with planar tech in general. And I wouldn't say that this is like, it's not. I don't think this is like a detailed benchmark or anything like that, but it definitely outperforms the price tag for technical performance.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd still take the Blessing 2 Dusk and Blessing 2 over this. Because also it's more usable.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like such a weird.
Have you seen the LCDI4? The LCDI4 is like
I haven't heard it.
Super technical.
Yeah,
it is really good, but the use case is just so limited because of the way they sit on your ears. And like, I'm not going to go out in public with that, obviously. Because
no, you should. That'd be amazing.
I mean, those are Odysseys for people who can't handle the Odyssey weight.
Yeah,
right.
I think they were. I liked them.
Yeah,
so.
I'm definitely interested in that. I'm curious because. I'm just thinking about my situation where I'm just sitting at my desk and I do EQ stuff regardless.
Yeah,
it's
that
like
could
that
definitely work
is
for you. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do use IEMs. Like when I use IEMs, it's outside, going for a walk. So
there's a really good question in the chat a second ago that I thought would be fun. I don't really more for you two guys because I don't really consider myself.
Travel to Rawson's studio in LA, that would be sick.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
No,
that was I was like, oh man, I want to go to Germany. Well, actually, speaking of that, Can Jam Chicago was announced, so that was hopefully maybe June. I think maybe that happens. We'll see.
Hopefully, we're all vaccinated by then.
Yeah,
that's possible.
The question to the reviewers, it says, how all have you evolved? So how have you all evolved as reviewers of late? How do you imagine your methodologies, preferences, review styles changing in the near future?
How have we evolved? I now have flippers.
I got
gills. Yeah,
gills.
Wings.
Wings. As I get older, my back wings do get longer.
How we evolved as, I mean, for me, it's been all the learning. There's been so much learning and reading and the research and how different transducer principles work, and that's what I love about this is that there's so much to learn. And even honestly, just yesterday I was like, wow, I didn't know that about digital. It was something I was just researching about digital audio. I was like, wow, I had no idea. And so it was just like there's always more to learn. That's probably the biggest thing for me. What about you?
For me, I think it was just mainly playing catch up because honestly, I haven't been in the hobby for very long, much less reviewing for that long. Mm-hmm. Like I only started reviewing maybe earlier this year. I'm not sure exactly when, but it's just been a lot of catch up, learning all the terminology that is used in this hobby, and at the same time also like sort of honing in my own ears to sort of figure out what I'm hearing. I'm trying to do the same thing with headphones now because I've noticed that when I go to a headphone, I don't know how to sort of articulate everything that I'm hearing because they're not comparable, headphones and IEMs, and there's just a big learning curve to that, I think.
Well, but, you're starting with it at a really good spot, I think, because like for so long, for so many people, the HD100S has been HD100 and HD100S are like the flagship, right? It's like if you have a reference point for that. That's kind of in many ways what most of the other flagships should be compared to. Because
you should see me the first time I heard the HE1. Like, I heard it at the Sennheiser store. I was like, "What am I hearing? I don't know how to explain any of this." Like,
that's a different experience altogether.
Like, what am I even listening to?
Yeah. Those are pretty ridiculous. The
I
HE1
guess
is ridiculous.
I guess another shout out I got to give is to all the other reviewers like Metal 571 and DMS and Josh Velour and Kryn and Max Settings and all the other people who are doing this stuff, and the collaborations I guess that we've had, or just even the conversations that we've had about different stuff. It's all been super informative and useful to bounce ideas off of and all that stuff. Yeah. Tyler, what about you?
But I don't really consider myself a reviewer, so I really just
I
like doing this stuff, like where I chat with you. I like the having groups. Of
you do
people.
live reviews.
I call them impressions, but like I for me, like it's more my perspective. But I say the things I've learned in that general sense of it is that it's ever evolving. Like you're saying, I'm constantly learning new things, constantly learning my own preferences and how they can change as time goes on too. And also going back and listening to things with when I was first coming into the headphone world, that's been interesting after having more experience and understanding better. I mean, heck, I've even started using FR as reference now. Thanks, jerk. But it's stuff like that, like it's like you said, I think it's the learning experience. The other big part I think is that for me that I really enjoyed or that I've really come into learning about or that I've grown is that I really enjoy the interaction with, even though it's a very like individual hobby, I enjoy this, like the live chat, communicating with the community, talking with you guys, talking with other people, enthusiasts, the creators. I love talking to people like Rosin, Zach and Bevan, Alex Sotos, even other creators like you're talking, or even like, not that I really interacted. We had that interview with DMS a while back. That was fun. Yeah. Max, like getting to know the people behind the stuff. I think that's something that I enjoy and want to grow more.
It's okay. No.
but yeah, like that's, so as far as a growing thing is learning from others. And,
of course. I forgot to mention we had Zach on the live stream. That was like a super highlight for me. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. Like I agree. It's huge. Like having people like that and learning from them, that and being able to take that and try to incorporate it into my own process or thoughts on how I experience headphones or IEMs, that kind of stuff. And knowing too that like that was a big one too for me, was a big earlier in the year, even not necessarily when I started doing the YouTube stuff, but like for me was understanding that we all have differences, right? Like you and I might not necessarily agree or precog, just everyone has.
All humans are robots. We're all the same.
Yeah. Beep, boop, beep, as my daughter would say. She comes in, beep, boop, bop, boop, beep, I am a robot. Sorry.
Headphone robots.
But
we all have the same preferences.
We're all the same. That'd be horrible. Like I like that we have differences. Like that's something I really learned, and I like to lean. I'm leaning more into, I should say. It's and that's fun. It's fun to have that discussion about why we have different experiences. So that's something I learned to try to. No one's wrong. Well,
some people are wrong. I know who they are. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
But yeah, like stuff like that. I don't know. Like, sorry, I got long-winded there, but like that was something I think that the community, talking with you guys, learning from you guys, learning from other people in the community, learning, and then that's something I would like to incorporate a little bit more.
Definitely. And speaking of which, we should let's dive into the chat and guys, if you guys have questions for us, for anybody here, leave a question, but make sure there's a question mark there so that we know that it's a question. And Happy New Year's to you. If I see that.
Happy New Year's.
Yeah, it's weird to think that, like, I mean, I was just thinking, like, for the holidays, we, like, it just sort of felt like it came and went, and I didn't notice.
Right.
And I guess because it wasn't as celebratory as it normally is. Yeah. Not as festive.
We went secluded on the bay.
Yeah.
For Christmas.
I didn't even ask you guys, how was your guys' Christmas? You guys have a good time?
Yeah.
Family Christmas?
Nice. Yeah. Just good to get to relax finally from all the schoolwork.
Yeah.
All
right. Let's see. I see a bunch of questions here. I am receiving an M1060C modded by DMS. Should I be scared?
Yes.
So
it says, I have a question for Josh Valor.
Oh, some people think that I'm Josh Valor.
Mm-hmm. You need to show more chest hair, though.
Yeah. Well, depending on who you are. I think there's people who want me to show less chest hair, fewer chest hairs.
Like we were just saying,
You can measure
preferences,
chest
man.
hairs in grams. I don't think you should be scared about a DMS modded headphone, because what he did with the Diana Phi was remarkable, both for comfort and for sound quality, to be honest. It's a little disappointing to me that it's not something that's like as regularly sold.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Like
didn't they
I don't know
not
what
even-
happened with that.
I thought they were gonna come out with their own model or something.
Yeah, that I was thinking that would be like, moving forward their go-to. Maybe they still will. Maybe it was just like
Maybe,
they need to ramp up to it or something like that. But that was the DMS modded Diana Phi was like, holy smokes, we now have a crazy nanoscale planar with ridiculous technical performance that's not horribly heavy or uncomfortable with his mod specifically. Right? So definitely really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, you should probably be fine. You have a question for Josh Velour. We should have Josh on the live stream. I've been chatting with him a bit, and maybe we'll make
I
something
think he
happen.
lives like just 10 miles,
Yeah.
20 miles away from me.
I was gonna get you guys to
Oh, wow.
connect because he was gonna. Oh yeah, he was gonna send you the HE5XX.
yeah.
It's his
Enough.
HE5XX that I took apart unceremoniously. Yeah. Oh, and I got to give a big thanks to Ruck and Udis and all the guys who from Rora's Audio as well, for I guess that part of the education process and how headphones are made, which has been great, and Oratory as well. Big thanks to Oratory for all his hard work.
Critical Android.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Have any of you guys had any experience with the Mangered teas?
Mangered
This is stuff that Corinne's talked about, and I have not had any experience with that. Precog, have you?
Nope. There are people who want me to get it still, but honestly, I'm not too interested in it. I'll be.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I don't know. I think Linsel has it actually, so
Yeah.
maybe something to get in
Yeah.
later down the line.
Definitely.
Probably.
Definitely
Yeah.
cool. Let's keep going. Here's one: Monarch plus Andromeda or Mest. That's a good question.
Mary.
No, but I guess because the price, right?
Yeah.
So you could, in theory, do that. Although that's
Those
still
are all
more.
fantastic.
That's
Wait,
still
Andromeda
more.
2020 or Andromeda OG?
No, 20. I assume 2020.
I'm a 2022.
Yeah.
But all are
That is a
fantastic.
tough question, and I
would
don't know how to
actually
answer it.
reverse, or so I would say for me, they're all fantastic. I would say in their price points. So I would even say my first entry, if I was kind of coming up, I'd say Monarch, Andromeda, and then Mest as like my least preferred to the best preferred.
Well, hold
Makes
on though.
sense.
Hold on. What
Wait.
like Andromeda? So if you're gonna buy an Andromeda
If I was gonna buy
and a
Andromeda.
Theaudio Monarch, that puts you at $1,900.
Which is well
Yeah.
over the price of a
Around
Mest,
there.
which I would just buy a Mest at that point.
No, that's what he's asking. That's what the person's asking.
Oh.
Would you get either? Would you get the combination of those two, or
No,
The
I just
Mest.
get the Mest. I just get
and
the
you
Mest.
just get the mess? But my answer would be to get the U12T.
Oh yeah,
You don't have much money.
yeah.
Because if you're at
doing that,
1,900, you know what I mean? Like,
if you like having fun, get the Mest. If you like more like smooth and gets
I-
along with everything,
yeah,
and
I don't listen to
it's-
headphones for fun.
Yeah, and by fun
Just
I mean like.
purely analysis. That's it.
Sorry, I should say for fun. I mean in the sense that it's got a unique character. It's got like not necessarily
It has a unique melody to it.
unique melody. The Mest, but honestly, the U12T is probably it's like to me the utopia of IEMs.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, in some ways though, you could get the Monarch and skip the Andromeda. I think
Yeah.
because the Monarch is competitive for detail,
Yes.
but it's also got better bass,
Mhm.
and it, in my opinion, has a better frequency response. But actually, the Andromeda 2020 was excellent
it's
as well,
pretty good. Yeah,
and and the soundstage in the Andromeda is fantastic too. So
those are all really good.
hard to go
IEMs, be
wrong with
honest.
those picks.
Any of those are going to be
Yeah,
good.
if you're gonna spend
IEMs.
1,900, I would get the U12T.
or a Neo or a
You know what though?
Neo's
I actually
unique.
think the Mest is more detailed than the Neo. Maybe I'm
I
like,
do.
It is.
Yeah,
It
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I would say as well.
yeah. But see, that's the thing. That's why I
still
say
have
like,
the Neo here.
like in my opinion, for detail, the Monarch and the Andromeda 2020 are pretty competitive, but the Mest is another level up from that, and then the U12T as well. So if you're gonna go for just strictly performance,
Wait, where is it? Yeah.
Oh, you have the Neo right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I agree. I actually 100% agree that
Yeah.
the Mest is more. I know
Yes.
Rico has, but I prefer the Mest over the Neo.
I kind of do as well. As much as because they're both kind of. I mean, with the M15 module and M20, they're both flavor IEMs, kind of, right? Because in different ways. And I think if I were to pick one, it would probably be the Mest over the Neo as well. Because
I'm Team Neo.
You're Team Neo, yeah, but you're with the M15 and M20s, right?
Yeah, with
Here's
the
another
M15.
thing, though.
If you want that kind of bass, it makes perfect
Yeah,
sense.
the bass slaps,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's what it's all there for.
Yeah.
Here's I'm also a simplistic person, and so I think that's where I also have problems with the U12T or the Neo specifically. Like when you have the modules, like I don't like when I have to mess
Oh,
with.
yeah. I don't like doing that either.
It's like,
admittedly, yeah.
Give me one thing and let that be the one thing that it does. Like I don't want to have.
Well,
to...
and also the cables could be better on the 64.
Oh, the cables are garbage. Sorry.
Oh, the cables garbage
are
on
not...
the 64
Yeah.
stuff. Really, it is. Like,
so everybody needs to, for IM cables, the Dunu cables are.
Oh, Dunu cables are.
oh yes, that is endgame.
Very choice. Do I even have?
It's tangled with the P1, but this cable. Is so.
With the SA6s.
This is actually the this is the Zen.
Oh,
Zen one's
yeah,
really
that's the same one
nice.
on the SA6 then. That's
it's the same cable.
DW03.
That's like the super thick, really nice one, right? Yeah.
You know, it's thick, yes, but it doesn't feel heavy. Like it's not like the
it's super lightweight.
The The audio cables are heavier than this.
The Clairvoyance and the Monarch cables are really good too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is this is even nicer because this is like similar thickness, but not as heavy. Maybe not as thick either. Like a little less thick, and they're modular. They got the system on the bottom, so rather than having the crazy like plug thing.
Yeah, it's really convenient.
Yeah, you just take the
modular
tip off.
system.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, right here.
Sorry, there was a question and I I missed
This
it.
thing's pretty great.
Okay, yes. So we've answered Monarch, plus Andromeda or Mest, I think, because the answer is U12T, or I would say Mest or U12T. You know, go with the one that's the most technical. Most technically,
U12T is more technically impressive.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, any plans to review the Matrix Audio Mini I Pro 3 DAC amp? Sounds like a fun piece. Streamer DAC amp. So maybe. I like Matrix Audio stuff. Obviously, I think the X Saber Pro is the best DAC that I've heard so far. I mean, of the normal DACs, there's obviously going to be like crazy stuff out there like Nagra and whatever else, right? So I need to get more experience with I need to get more experience with the ridiculous high-end stuff. But of the like normal DACs, I like that one a lot. But I honestly am not that interested in streamers because I never use like that functionality is not something that makes sense for me. But it is an important function, and I do think it's super useful for a lot of people who have that whole setup, like in a living room for or something like that, where they're not at their computer. So it's hard for me to get super excited about that, but I can see why it's essential.
Someone asked if you're going on a road trip from Montreal to Mongolia, which headphones?
That's not a road trip.
Bring?
Sorry,
that's not a road trip. That's something. Yeah, I would just get a couple sets of these, so if they break,
because you'd have to be on a plane unless you're like, what are you?
Yeah. But yeah, I would honestly, any kind of massive trip like that, or like depends on what you're defining it as. But
AirPods Max, no, I'm just kidding.
AirPods Pro.
AirPods
Yeah,
Pro.
honestly, I would probably just take my AirPods Pro.
AirPods Pro, and then for over years, I'd grab a couple of these with some, Costport Pro.
Yeah, because you're not worried about damaging
them.
Yeah,
and they're cheap enough. You could bring like a couple. Both of these go in my everyday bag. Like they literally, I just pulled them out of my camera bag. So I mean,
yeah. So I'm thinking, what else would IEMs? You could just get a really nice IEM.
My Andromeda Golds, I take everywhere with me as well.
You could take a the Audio Monarch or Clairvoyance.
If I had,
or honestly the Dunu SA6 depends on what where your price point is, right?
With the campfire stuff, it's like really sensitive though, and I always use the dongle with my phone, so I don't think I really want to use that.
I always just use my DAP. So that's the other thing. If I'm bringing a DAP, then then you would. I'd probably do the Monarch if I.
Plus, the Monarch has. Well, this is the nice thing about both of those is that they're sub bass boosted, but when you're like walking around outside, like it helps. Because if you hear like the low frequency stuff like going on around you, like having that extra bass boost helps.
Yeah.
Nullifies.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
Nickel allergy.
A Claire review in comparison to the Mona when, I assume he's asking when. So most likely this week actually, or like probably it'll be out on Monday. So I'm doing it. I'm filming and editing this week for that one. I can give you like a quick preview of that. Clairvoyance has the better frequency response, but the Monarch has the better technical performance. Crin's right. There's more to it than that actually, and I do think that the Clairvoyance is more versatile. And I also have that 20 ohm like the impedance adapter for the Monarch. The thing with that though is that like it's not that realistic that I would use that when I'm using IEMs, because it's like stacking plugs on top of each other. It's already really bulky, so I don't know how realistic that would be. But yeah, that's kind of my take so far, is that the Clairvoyance definitely is the one that has the better default tuning. And they're both excellent. You can't really go wrong with either one there. Okay. How to add EQ to iPhone? I'm not sure. But that would be super useful if somebody knows, drop a let the guy know, because that would be. But I don't. Yeah.
There is an app. I don't remember what it is.
It's like 15, it's like $5 to $10, I think, for it.
Oh, it's EQU. That's what I used. Yeah, that works.
I know there's
it is a paid app though.
Wavelet for Android. So. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. The Hi-Fi-Man and Nanda are pretty much stuck at just under €1,000 in Germany. That's pretty expensive for an Ananda. Do you think they're still worth it at the price? Oh man, $1,000, man. I don't know, or €1,000. €1,000.
Oh, that's expensive.
That's pretty expensive for an Ananda. I would do the clear. You could get a clear for that. It's more punchy. Or yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking there's got to be other stuff around that price point too. Is that close to like a HD100S?
Probably.
Right?
You probably get a better
if it's
deal
in Germany.
Germany. As I say, you could probably get a better deal, or even the headphone.
Yeah.
No, it's a little more expensive, but then depending on your preference of weight, whatever.
Okay. Might as well save more and get the Odin. I was referring to the previous comment. It's pretty expensive for the Odin.
Yeah, Odin's expensive.
Yeah. Has anyone tried the Beyerdynamic Excellento and Tesla driver like the T1? I'm not a fan of the Tesla drivers. I don't think they're very good, to be honest. You have like at that price, right? What is it, over $1,000? You're comparing stuff to the Focal headphones, and the Focal headphones are just better, like for detail, for punch, slam, for maybe not soundstage. I think that's probably where those Beyers are better. But I'm not a fan of the Beyer Tesla stuff. They do a good job of marketing, I guess. Just like every company, right? Like Focal does a good job of marketing, but and it's funny because like when I say something like that, like I don't like the Tesla drivers that much, or I'm not as impressed by it.
Context.
Yeah, like yeah, it's not.
That's
really
what I was talking about before about the learning piece. Is like,
yeah. But just having, I'm not sure about like the whatever current generation it is for the T1, but I've heard the T1 before, like the original T1s, and it's not that impressive. So I mean, it does have good performance, but it's not as competitive now. So no, I'm not taken with it. And then there's somebody going to be like, but the Teslas, they're going to be, magnets. It's important. The magnets. It's not that. Like the end result, if the end result isn't as good, I'm not as enthusiastic about it.
Now I need a meme of you, like the aliens guy, but with like magnets.
Magnets. No, I need more hair for that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we did.
When you reviewed the AirPods Max, did you notice the noise floor increase? The noise floor increased a lot when you turn on the vocal preset. The noise floor was there regardless. I don't think it was intrusive on even with the preset, but no, not particularly. By the way, I did also like measure and evaluate the AirPods Max with the cable. People were saying it makes a difference. It doesn't. Like it measured slightly differently in the treble, but not because in that sense it's going analog, or it's going digital to analog, back to digital, back to analog. So you're still getting the same processing that's going on in the headphone, I assume, unless it's bypassing it somehow. But I don't see how we do
critical.
that. What's that?
I said high critical.
Oh, crins. Yeah.
Daily reminder that graph bad.
Yeah. Okay, if you guys had, this is for you guys, if you guys had $3,000 to pick one headphone that's available today, which would you pick? Used is okay too. Wait, does that include an amp? Do you need $3,000 for like a system or just a headphone?
For a full setup?
Have we done $3,000 yet? I know we've done
We've done it before, or a similar thing.
Yeah.
Let's say full setup.
HD 600. No.
I'd probably do Aeolus, Bifrost 2, and
yeah, you know it's weird because
the amp's the tough one though, man.
With it feels to me like there's like the $1,000 to $2,000 range for headphones. Then there's some niche stuff like ZMF. Oh, it's not really that niche, but you know what I mean. There's unique stuff like ZMF and Rad Zero at the sub $3,000 range, and the Focal Stellia. But the real differences for like crazy technical performance don't show up until 4,000. So there's a bit of like a gap there, like Utopia, Sysvara, LCD4, the Diana Phi, the AB1266 TC. Like that stuff's all at $4,000 and above. And so $3,000, I don't know.
It's tough.
I think it's
maybe the HD800 with a tube amp and a Bifrost 2, maybe.
My answer would probably be a VC, a Rad Zero, or a Stellia. Probably one. Depends on use case.
If we need, if you can get if it's a synergy thing where you have to pay for that, that's your whole budget. That's a different story.
Because that's the thing with this.
Then I just get this.
Yeah, and with the Stellia, you don't need the crazy amplifier, right? So if you're in that situation, you don't have an amplifier. I'd probably say Stellia, because the detail's pretty good on that.
And I just got these in.
More convenient.
Pretty good.
Yeah, but also like if it's me personally, it's either VC or Rad Zero. Yeah. Although I need to get an LCD3 in because I think it's around that price.
Yeah.
I need to try an LCD3. Okay, let's see. Please do a video on cables if they change the sound.
Oh dear.
Yes, they changed the sound.
Okay.
No. Facial expressions and depending on.
I assume he means like these kinds of cables, not these interconnects and stuff like that. Because the interconnects can take it from not working to working, and it change the sound in that sense.
They can change the impedance and all
I've
that.
I've had that situation where it's like you get horrible noise floor with a certain type of interconnect because there's something wrong.
Like a bad solder point or something.
Or ground loops and stuff like that. Totally. But
I don't think you really factor cables until it's like way long distances. That may be a factor.
No, I think they make a difference probably more for speakers than for headphones. Yeah. That's kind of sort of where I'm at. Like the orthodoxy says it doesn't make any difference whatsoever, and then manufacturers say it does make a difference. But I've never had the experience where I swap to a different cable and go, wow, this is different.
Me neither.
Now for speakers, I imagine that's the case. I imagine
potential for it.
Yeah, there's more potential there. Yeah.
Maybe even IEMs would be more.
What do you think?
Yeah, with some stuff like the Andro.
Yeah, because you're changing impedance and stuff like that.
And Android has measured differences, and the Andromeda is so sensitive that the length of the cable does make a difference. I think.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
So I think then that would be that's but we're talking about impedance and.
But that's not materials magically changing.
No, it's not. No.
So
measured phenomenon.
Like silver to copper to. Combo, that's where you might see something, but even then, no. Like it's still just power going through the power thing.
The thing is, like, I want to be. If there's a difference, I want to discover it. But so far, I haven't.
Definitive. Like it needs to be a definitive thing.
Yeah. In order for it to matter. Okay, let's keep going here. We'll keep going for like 10 more minutes. So we did the 3K one. Let's see. anything stand out to you guys?
Not right now.
Anyone? Oh yeah, we've got decent EQ programs for Mac. So precog, you have you done EQ on Mac?
Not yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. I got Audio Verana, whatever it is, under Ansprec, but I got to figure out an EQ plugin for that I want to use.
Yeah. Because that would be helpful. I think that would do a lot of Rune would be my answer.
Rune was expensive. It was like
expensive, dude.
It is.
Yeah.
Expensive.
It's like $700 for a lifetime purchase.
Yeah.
Or $100 $100 plus a year.
I mean, it's the same price as like a streaming service, but at the same time, it's like it doesn't give you the music. It's just a tool.
It's just a platform for the music.
All right. For $2,000, looking only at sound quality, will there be a significant difference between the U12T and a full-size headphones?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a huge difference. They're just not comparable.
Speakers to headphones, the same as headphones to IEMs, in my opinion.
I think we're like the gap is closing, sort of, but it's also widening in other senses as well. Like, I think it's closing when we see stuff like planar tech in IEMs or dynamic drivers getting better with the Zen and stuff like that. Like, I think those differences are becoming smaller, but they are still there.
Still there, yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's how you coupling. I mean, you're changing the room, right?
Yeah, it's well, and also, I mean, you can only do so much with the small size and the bigger drivers. If we're talking LCDI 3 and LCDI 4, that's different.
That's different.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. The Sundara, based on your review, very happy. Can you suggest an amp for the Sundara? A lot of people ask me that. I don't think it matters that much with planar. I mean, yes, you need an amplifier, but with planars, they don't. I mean, at the high end, they do. They change, and you need, especially for really inefficient stuff. But for the Sundara specifically, I think you'd be just fine with an L30 or a Magni Heresy or any of those fairly inexpensive amplifiers. Running it off the IHA6, even running it balanced off the IHA6, maybe there's a small little difference there, but not enough to where it matters. It's not like when I ran, back when I had the original Aeon, that went from kind of sucky on the Micro Black Label to actually really, really good on the, at least for technical performance on the, for the time on the IHA6. So, I don't think the Sundara is quite like that. Let's see. 2 more questions, guys. Stabilized wood in an IEM.
There's a bunch.
That's what the SA6 uses, right?
Yeah.
SA6, yeah.
Well, that's why they're all a little different. Is it a dumb move to sell off Verite open for a Diana V2?
Depends on if it's comfortable for you and if that's what you want to like.
It's tough with those because if you haven't had a chance to try them, you don't know if the fit's gonna work.
Yeah.
Whereas the Verites are pretty comfy, regardless. Yeah. I don't know. I think it really depends. I mean, like, so my experience with the Abyss headphones is that the technical performance is like out of this world. Not the V2, but the Phi, and the AB1266 TC. But they need to figure out the tuning a little bit, or they are, I think, continuing to figure out the tuning, and that's why they have so many revisions and stuff like that. So I think it's more just a difference of dynamic driver versus planar. And while the detail is better on the planar, on the Diana Phi, again, I don't know about the Diana V2. While the detail might be better, there are going to be other qualities about the ZMF that you may appreciate more, and it really depends on the person at that point. Because I'm on, as much as the headphones that I personally own are dynamic driver headphones, I'm on Team Planar as far as like what's possible for technical performance. But I think Tyler's on Team Dynamic Driver, right? So it just depends on the person.
And then I think fit too, and like aesthetic too. But yeah, definitively I prefer dynamics over planars. Generally.
The great thing about those Abyss headphones, though, is that they're pretty indestructible. Mm-hmm. I mean, they ran them over with a Jeep.
Yeah.
So, or at least the big one. I don't know. Yeah.
The Abyss, the 12. Which one?
Well, there's the 1266. Yeah, the AB 1266. What's better, HD800S or HD820?
Oh my gosh.
You've asked this so many
Is that
times,
even a
dude.
question?
That is not even a question.
That's not
HD800S. HD820 is a bad. I'm just gonna say it. It's a bad headphone. Sorry, Tyler.
I mean, I think it's in context. If you have a good seal with the H820, it's still not competitive. It's the
See,
closest.
I
thing
would
you
want
can
to
get
break
a
the
closed
seal
back.
because the bass is too insane.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
mean,
closed backs in general are not as good as opens. That's
yeah.
not
So
going
it's
to
at
be.
the end of the day, the 800 is going to be better. It's just nature. Except for the VC, those are unique.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's the best.
And LCDX maybe closed. The closed LCDX.
Oh, the XC, not without EQ, but for technical performance, man, I'm blown away. Like the XC, the XC is better for technical performance than the X. Like this one compared to the X that I tried. I mean, again, I'm not sure about unit revisions and stuff and variations, but I'm blown away with the technical performance of the XC for closed back headphone. And I was even comparing it against the Elegia and the Radiance and all these other ones that closed backs that came around that price, and it destroyed them handily. Like, it was not close. So the only downside with that is that it's so heavy, and it's definitely too much. It's got too much treble air, like it's too upper tilted there. So it needs a bit of EQ, or maybe running it off a tube amp or something like that, make it better. But you were blown away by an EQ'd LCDX. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying is like, that's what I've learned this year. I mean, is just how ridiculous the technical performance is of the full-sized high-end Odysseys and what they're capable of. Because it's not just about the detail and the soundstage. The soundstage is okay, but it's not just about that. It's about all the rest of it, like the dynamics and that stuff that, the hi-fi man stuff just doesn't have it. Even though, yeah, the frequency response of the hi-fi man stuff is definitely better. Okay, let's see. Two more. I said we did three more. Two more. Utopias of IEMs for punch, slam, and details. Precog.
Utopia of punch, slam, and details. I mean, I think one of the big things about the Focal stuff is the macrodynamic ability, right?
Yeah.
That's the U12T and the what's it called? The Duna Luna. They both have very good macrodynamic ability.
But the tuning, I mean, I was going to say Luna as well, but the tuning is not like the Utopia.
No, yeah, not at all from what I've seen. Yeah, that's really tough.
It's a tough one. I don't know. The Zen is closer, but it's still.
Yeah, I haven't heard Zen.
It's still like the only thing with the Zen is that it's a bit rolled off in the treble there. So it's not as like whereas the Utopia is like, as far as the frequency response is concerned, it's really resolving, right? So it doesn't quite have that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that, really. I mean, it would be. I was going to say the A8000, right? Because it's definitely brighter as well. But I don't think they're comparable.
I don't really feel comfortable recommending A8000 either.
I can't. Yeah, it's not like, I do think for technical performance maybe, right? But not. In that sense, you might as well look at the Luna.
Yeah.
So, that's a tough question. Odin, Empire Ears Odin.
Odin's pretty damn close.
Because, I mean, also...
Tyler always makes
the
the
Odin's
comparison, too.
What's that?
Yeah.
The Tyler always compares the Utopia to the Odin. Like,
oh, yeah.
Just in the way they present their
I
overall
think the
sonic
Odin's more
presentation.
fun. But yeah, I think they have the similar technicalities,
I think
performance.
the Utopia is better in the treble still, but I mean, the Utopia is better. It's over your headphone, but you get what I'm saying, right? For tuning, right? I do think the Utopia is still better in the treble. The Odin's a bit more relaxed. The Odin's more just like a kind of almost like a HD 650 on steroids, or like I don't know how else, like with the treble specifically, it's a little bit more smooth, right?
It's very smooth.
Yeah,
Very smooth.
yeah.
Right.
So I know it's a tough question. I'll let you guys pick the last question that we do.
I could do a quick fire on a couple real quick. Aeolus versus Focal Clear for an all-arounder. Personally, both are fantastic. I personally prefer the Aeolus, but I would say both are on the same level as for all-arounders. And then for everybody, well, I guess not precog, but someone asked, I thought it was pretty funny. Death match between Elex, Ananda, T60 Argons, and 660S, which is victorious in a death match.
Well,
that was kind of unique.
You can remove the 660S and the
that's
Argons.
Gone. And the Argons are gone.
As much as I like Ryan, I think he would even say, like, for detail and stuff like that.
In between the Elex and Ananda, it's going to be a preference thing. I'd probably say Elex, and I think Rizal would probably say Ananda.
It's tough. I don't know, man.
It's tough. Those are tough. Those are. I agree.
The thing is, like, the Elex. Actually, I shouldn't be so quick to dismiss the Argon, because the tuning on that is probably really good. But I'm just basing it off of the T50 drivers not being really all that competitive anymore. Like those are the older Fostex planar drivers that everybody modded. Like, they were great, but we need to move on from those, I think.
Time to move on.
Yeah. I would say the Ananda, but the Lex that I reviewed recently was fantastic.
Yeah.
So if they're all like that, which I don't think they are, then it would be a Lex. But if it's just frequency response, yeah, Ananda is one of the best frequency responses, period. It just lacks dynamics, lacks punch. Okay. Yeah. That is. Is there a compromise for vocal balance when going for higher clarity? I don't know. Compromise. Not sure what you mean by that.
Oh, maybe he's talking about like more upper mid-range presence, I think. Because generally when you boost those upper mids, you get more clarity. And you're compromising the balance in that respect.
Yeah, and you've talked about this before as well, Precog, with the distance between upper mids and lower mids and how this can have a certain effect.
Oh yeah, it'll thin out the weight of the notes, basically.
Yeah.
And that's
I think also it depends on male vocals or female vocals, because they're gonna be tokening different ranges. Clarity can be at the expense of male vocals, probably.
Yeah.
Because that's the Harmon scoop, right? Like the lower.
It is. Yeah.
And I'm on right now. Okay, I've gone back and forth on this throughout 2020. At the beginning, I was definitely in favor of the Harmon scoop, and then now, since then, I'm in favor of no scoop. Because it's more versatile that way, right? And it's less boring, like it adds a bit of tone richness there.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's gonna be it, guys. MP versus your last one. MP versus Abyss 1266.
It's not a competition.
That is not a competition.
1266 would destroy the MP.
Yeah. I mean, tuning aside,
also,
that's not close. Okay. On that note, we're going to end the live stream. There's a wonderful question to end it on. Thank you all for asking your questions. And
see you in the new year.
Yeah, wish happy New Year to everybody in the chat. Everyone. Happy New Year to everybody on the call here. And we will see you guys in 2021.
Fantastic.
Hopefully it'll be a better year.